issue was he wanted equity and Happy died.
Why? Oh, I mean, obviously, why not?
Right? But they didn't want to give him the equity. So, I mean, if you clearly you have some sort of pull, think about it. Dana White came on this podcast to mediate.
Dana White?
And Dana White doesn't give a fuck about anyone.
Well,
dude, Dana White's responses to the Canadian, the Toronto show and everything like that with the journalists and then, what's his name, Strickland?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That was amazing.
What was your take on Strickland? You think he's doing God's work?
God's work, I don't know, but it was awesome.
He got in a fight with he just sparring with a streamer.
Oh, Sneeko?
And he he beat the fuck out of him.
But props to Sneeko.
Like he stood in there, he
he didn't get dropped, and he took it, and he didn't say anything.
Can Sneeko fight?
No.
No, he's just like a regular guy. It's like us walking in there and
he's
getting
he's
shit.
he's got to be only like 5'10", like maybe 165 pounds.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Strickland's a monster.
Yeah.
He's in what, the 205? It's a 205.
Probably.
He's 185. Okay, so
he's like walking weight.
Walk around the 205 at least. Yeah. Yeah. No, watching him on dealing with the press in Toronto was amazing.
It was the best. I think
it's good. It's a reality kind of check for the world.
I mean, it's the scary times we're living in right now.
It's gnarly stuff, man.
Yeah, they say it's like we're the closest we've ever been to like a World War III. On the clock.
Are we?
It's ticking, seconds away from
maybe
happening. What's your take on Tucker Carlson bringing on and doing that interview with
Putin?
Yeah,
I watched that the other day. I don't really know what to make of it. Like it wasn't. I don't know. It didn't seem like the most profound thing that I've ever heard. It's like, okay, so he's making a case that Russia has rights to the Ukraine, going back to the 8th or 9th century.
He knows his history.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like
Tucker kept asking him okay, so should Romania get land back? And he wouldn't answer.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that, right? It was a very political answer.
He's very well politically he knew how to kind of not answer the question but try to answer the question.
Yeah, it was interesting to watch.
He's smart.
Definitely a smart guy. And I think Tucker said it pretty well where he's like, it's what he believes. So there you go. But yeah, I don't know what. I like that he brought him on. I've never heard anyone interview Putin before. So
yeah, and I feel like the language barrier was kind of tough to have that conversation too, right? Because there's always something that gets missed in translation. Yeah,
it was tough listening to that the translator's voice a bit too.
Yeah, it's annoying.
So yeah, I don't know what to make of it. It was an interesting session, but I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it right now.
Yeah. I didn't really watch this. I didn't even know he did this.
That
was crazy.
Well, it was big, man.
Yeah, it was like 2 hours long. Yeah.
I honestly thought there'd be like you said. I felt like Putin was very political, and I thought he'd be more real from what I felt. Yeah.
Tucker said on Instagram after that it was very evident that Putin doesn't do interviews and he's not used to journalism.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's fair enough. Yeah. What was always interesting, though, too, is when someone who comes from the Soviet bloc is like, well, this is our history. And they're very famous for rewriting history.
Yeah.
Right? But who isn't these days?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That was Super Bowl. You watched it, right?
I watched it, yeah. I fell asleep in the third quarter for sure. Definitely took a nap.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't watch any football this year because Tom Brady retired, so what's the point?
Yeah.
That's like me with Kobe. When Kobe retired, I stopped watching ball and lost
interest. So he retired, and then when did Kobe retire? Because I remember when he he died in the helicopter.
Well, Kobe was on and off, right?
2016.
But he was retired and then died.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In 20,
yeah,
he
retired
later.
And then he was off.
And he used to come to the games and stuff like that.
Right.
He was training.
He was more into women's basketball.
Yeah.
Kind of promoting it for his daughters and coaching his daughters and very involved on that side. But I felt like he would have been an amazing coach if he came to the NBA to coach, or even at I think an NCAA level. If Kobe coached, but I feel like there's just too much that comes with that, and he was involved with so many other things.
Yeah. All those high performing guys are, man. Their capacity is insane.
Yeah.
But the game died. I felt like in that era was like different. The mentality was different. Like you were involved more with the game of basketball, and that was it. You know, you wanted to play to win. Your focus was ball. Your focus was your team. Your focus was like, okay, how do I show up and win? What do I do?
But they're making so much money now, so it's like
now it's like
because of the overseas stuff and everything, and like.
But even in the NBA, right? Like even Jeff Teague was talking about it. He's like, man, he's like, some guys would come into like the room, be like, yo, like let's win, like let's go, and then he'd be like, I'd be in the corner, and be like, yo, I'm just chilling, like you know what I mean? Like they're just looking
who's
at
coming in?
You know what I mean?
These guys?
Like the other team, like you know, you gotta like have like
you'd have the odd player that comes in that's winning mentality. But then you got the random guy on the team that just cares about the money now. He's made his bag. He's got his sponsors. There's so many different avenues you can go down.
There's like role players that are getting paid tens of millions of dollars now.
Oh, okay. So it's not like the old days where like it was like Michael was just getting everything, and then who's that white guy that was on the? He's a three-point shooter.
Larry Bird.
Oh, you're talking about
Steve, right?
Oh, Steve Kerr.
Yeah. Like that guy.
Yeah,
he was clutch in the big games, according to the documentary.
Made more money as a coach.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But he wasn't making anything. Everybody knew that Michael was getting the lion's share of everything.
But Michael was different mentality. Like, you know how people say, like, he wouldn't survive in today's league? How though? Like, you got...
That's BS. They're all competitors.
They were animals back then. You had, like, guys like Dennis Rodman who just, like,
the guy would hit savage.
You. And, like, the refs weren't as soft. Now you got LeBron kind of crying over a fan yelling at him.
Yeah, that was always I never really liked basketball that much, but that was my biggest complaint, is that everybody was just such a baby.
Yeah.
It's like, man, like... Take a hit, throw an elbow. I don't know.
Play the game.
Don't cry about it. It's like watching Italian soccer.
Yeah.
The diving, man.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, the Italian swim team.
But I think that's where like my interest for ball died, because it became more of like an offensive game, and the defense side was
just like a 3-point shooting contest now. Like, whoever can hit more threes, like.
Well, they're not dunking anymore?
I mean, it's just that intensity, it feels like, is not there.
Is it like a transitional phase where like the real superstars are gone and we're kind of waiting for the next generation of superstars?
I think it's more of a phase where now you have players coming into the league just to make their money. And before, it was a game of like, we want to win. Like, you had that mentality, like, growing up, in your era, you probably had that mentality of like first, second, third. Then you had that mentality of like, everybody gets a ribbon. Now you have that mentality of, there was letter grades, A, B, C, and D. Now you have it, satisfactory, non-satisfactory. And pretty soon it's going to be everybody's equal.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's come down to. Like, there was a level of competitiveness back in the day. And over time, that's kind of dying out, because now players just care about coming in, getting their bag, finding other sources of income, and being like, why do I got to put myself through all this? And what am I playing for? Like, the trophy doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
The bragging rights and like having a championship ring doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, I guess with the NBA. But then you look
why doesn't it mean anything?
I think it does. And
because obviously there's some level of like an aspect I feel like that it does, but like I feel like it's so shadowed by money and business now. Like, back in the day, like they would say, though, the players didn't know what they, where their money was, what they were doing with it. A lot of players were getting scammed out. Like, a lot of NBA players from back in the day are broke in today's day, and they don't have nothing to amount to. But in terms of money, like even AI.
Yeah, well, even like you've seen like Darren Williams, like he's homeless at one point. Like,
really?
Yeah, he was at a car wash. He was there, and there's a video of a kid or someone, a kid actually.
Delonte West?
Not Darren Williams. Delonte West. Delonte West. I was like, and then this kid comes up to him and he's like, oh, like, did you play with the
Cleveland
like, were you in
Cavaliers,
like NBA, the video game or something? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I used to play with LeBron and stuff. And he's like at the car wash and like all scrubbed out, like, and it happens to a lot of them. And then in football, like they get a lot of CTE. That's like John Jones' brothers, like always like tweaking out, like
Chandler.
He's always going crazy. But I don't know, man. The NFL seems like there's a lot of
But NFL still has that
conspiracies.
competitiveness.
yeah.
Like when these guys are,
Yeah.
you cannot not play
Yeah.
NFL.
You have to.
You're getting fucking hit. You're getting
fucking
Yeah.
running at
you're-
each other.
you're,
Like
you're trying to like fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas NBA, you can scrimmage by. You know, you can come into a game and just
coast.
hit fucking 25 and call it a day.
yeah.
Hit 30 and call it a day.
Well, I think that has to do with it being like 82 games in a regular season. They space it out. But then you look at the NHL. NHL, those guys, they try every night. Like they do. Like
NHL, they still go hard, I think. Yeah.
But then they're also not making the same amount of money as
Yeah.
like Connor McDavid's getting paid like as much as some of like the players that are like, you know, semi-stars.
Yeah, but then you got like NBA players that are streaming now. Like that's
Yeah,
like their
that's
main
kinda-
source. Like they're so
Streaming?
yeah. Like you have
Scotty
top
Barnes
notch
streams, yeah,
top notch
like
players
Bronny.
that don't care
all-
about the game, but they're sitting at home fucking gaming because they're making more money that way. So they're like,
Wow.
You know what I mean?
All the popular athletes, the younger ones like Travis Hunter, like Deion Sanders' kid, LeBron James' kid, they all stream.
And they're pro athletes.
College.
college right now.
Man, like that's hilarious that those worlds have combined.
But then you
'Cause
had
growing up, like
you had Kobe back in the day. At that age, all he saw was the fucking gym.
yeah,
you know what I
right.
mean.
But
2
it's-
a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. He's in the gym. He's
Yeah.
locked in. He's watching tape for the best of the best. He's
Yeah,
like, now what do you have for these young guys to compare to? LeBron James walking back on defense. You know what I mean? You have
Mm.
Steph Curry just popping threes. The edge is gone, and I feel like that's where like that drive is gone for players because they
How
know
is
it's.
LeBron still playing?
He has to be
But-
on some
Like,
shit,
is he still
man.
competitive? I don't know anything
I don't-
about
I don't-
basketball. So
He
you- I-
rests a lot.
I think there's
Yeah, he
too much
rests a lot.
resting.
He
Like
rests, yeah. So he plays when he like wants to play, kind of.
it's not like
But
you
he's
you
what,
know
30?
showing up every game. Like Kobe used to say, he's like, I'm showing up every game I play because
Yeah.
he knows that my fans paid for like someone
Totally.
worked their ass off
yeah.
to even sit in the nosebleeds to watch me come play today, right? But now you have players that are resting like so many games, and it's like, dude, but what about the people that come to watch you?
Well, the first Kobe game I actually went to, he didn't play. That was pretty sad.
Oh, that sucks.
But like Kobe at his end of the career was just injuries and just like, you know what I mean? Like he was banged up. But that also shows like what he played through and all
Yeah.
those years of like, getting roughed up and the different level of competitiveness. I just feel like the game changed a lot.
When? What year?
For me, I'd say after like 2016, 2017, 2018, I'd say. I feel like when social media became this big thing and like everybody, started going on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and all that other shit came about.
Yeah.
I feel like, and you can't really blame a player either because when you make it into the league, a lot of the times it's to get out of the hood or get out of
For sure.
that poverty and like make it. And now you've
Yeah.
made it. But now it's like back in the day, you made it, but now you got to keep that intensity up in order to keep getting paid. Otherwise, you know what I mean? Like no one's going to look at you. But now it's like
They all
You
got
ma-
safety nets and everything.
Yeah.
and make
now you
more
can
money
sit on the
off it. Yeah,
bench
right.
for all your career and you'll have other revenues of income. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
could be Swaggy P
Yeah, YouTube.
and have a
do
funky
whatever,
haircut and be the star of the show just because you have a funky haircut. Or
YouTube
who-
amazes me, man. I don't know. Like, there's so many people out there making so much money. Like, you mentioned him, like Sneeko.
Mm-hmm.
I know of him, but I don't know what he does. Like, what's the value that he's offering?
streaming.
It's just they have.
But what's he streaming?
Just
Themselves, they're in real life.
it's like you streaming yourself eating.
Yeah.
and
or
you
like, or
going
right now,
about
So
your
then,
day.
this is what I don't
streaming.
understand either. It's like, who wants to watch somebody eat?
The new
This
generation.
fucked. Man.
You're hooked. These
And
guys
then
are
and then
hooked.
they're paying him.
Yeah.
And they're hooked.
Donations and like subscriptions.
It's a different world now.
It really is. I really don't understand it at all.
Yeah. But
But
even
let's-
everything
there's,
is like changing with that. Like, seems like, you're saying like the NBA is changing, NFL is changing. The world's just kind of like changing. Like, even like NFL, man. Like, it's not the same as like when Tom Brady guys used to play and like.
Tom Brady.
Dude, that fucking guy, man. Like, as much as you tried to hate him, man, like he was fun to watch, man.
But he
Like,
brought that Kobe mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
dude,
wanted to win.
every game.
Yeah.
He was like every single play. He came to win.
And he was on his
Freaking love
team.
Tom
He was a
Brady.
good leader.
and
Yep.
there was so much like
Sacrifice for the team. Sacrifice so much money to just
Yeah.
to stay with that.
so much competitiveness too.
Yeah.
Like he had Peyton Manning. He
Mhm.
had like Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Like there was so many like
It was Rivers.
Rivers. Yeah,
I mean,
he's kind of ass. Yeah.
there was tiers, right?
Yeah.
It was like Brady, Manning, and Breeze, right?
Yeah.
And then everybody, you had your sort of middle guys.
Yeah.
Rodgers, right? But he always injury prone, can never make it past the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
That guy's a savage, though. I love him.
Yeah, he's savage.
Yeah. That's what I mean. So football to me is in this transition stage where all you have now is Pat Mahomes. He's kind of the only great one, and then who else is really a good quarterback?
Josh Allen. That's it.
So you would say like the
But
game.
you'd never put Josh Allen on a Brady level, right?
No,
it's
no,
like he's a.
he doesn't.
So
have
you
a
would
one,
compare
eh?
Mahomes to
He's probably
Brady?
I think you have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Right?
second.
Yeah, he just went back to back.
So
First time
okay,
in 20
so
years.
so let's do it in this sense. In today's day for NBA, who would you compare to Michael Jordan?
I don't
LeBron?
know. I don't follow the NBA at all.
LeBron.
I know LeBron doesn't have the
LeBron,
he
yeah.
doesn't have
Right?
the titles
Yeah.
though.
But if you
right?
say like no one, that means like there's
LeBron.
not really a comparison.
Yeah.
But then for Brady and Mahomes, you would say that or is that just someone you're comparing him to?
No, because he's on.
Is he on that level?
well, he's got his third in 5
in
years,
5
right?
years. So
Like,
if he gets to 7, he's there, man. He's got all the.
yeah,
He'll have
if
the
you go
same amount of
back to
touchdowns.
back in football, like yeah,
Would you say the level of like is it just because maybe there's no other?
I mean
Great
he's
QBs in
phenomenally
the league.
talented.
He's fucking nuts.
Like,
Yeah.
watching him is insane.
yeah,
Like,
he's.
at the game yesterday, somebody was like, "Oh yeah, sweet, like this is a great game." Like, yeah, but you got Pat Mahomes on the other side,
Yeah.
man. That guy's he's just magic, right?
Yeah.
He sees the
Knows how to
field
make
differently.
plays.
Like, watching him do those throws, that's not Tom Brady mechanics throwing, right? He's
Yeah.
what was he, a shortstop, right? So he's like
Mhm.
whipping the ball
Yeah,
like
from
yeah.
the side, yeah.
no feet on the ground.
The
Yeah.
only thing with him is if he could keep up to get to Brady's level is the longevity of it, because the way
Yeah.
he play style, the way that he plays. Because Brady didn't play like that. Like he's not running around.
Yeah.
He's staying in the pocket and he's darting people.
Oh, so he's gonna have to kind of change his style of play to last that
Yeah,
long.
28,
being
right?
able
But,
to
like-
get to 7
Russell Wilson was kind of like that, and
Yeah.
then kind of hit 30, and then,
dropped.
Yeah, Broncos Nation.
right? What was the
Yeah.
Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson was a phenom for a while. I don't know what he's doing now, but he's got no Super
I
Bowls.
mean, he won MVP this year, but the thing is,
Lamar Jackson did?
Yeah.
Oh,
Would you say that like
I know he
may-
won it in his first year, right? But it was a while ago.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
he lost. Yeah, he lost.
Yeah, right. It's like, okay,
But would you say like a guy like Lamar Jackson may be very, very athletic, but doesn't have the quarterback IQ?
Yeah.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
maybe it was like RG3, right? That year that like Russell Wilson, RG3, and all those guys came in.
Lamar's basically like a running back.
Yeah, I mean
he's
he's
a very-
another one of
he's
those
like
like
a running back.
monstrous
Like, he's
like,
insane.
talents, right?
He doesn't have like he can't throw the ball though.
Yeah.
That's just unfortunate. But
There is something amazing about the actual quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
where he knows where everyone is going to be when they're going to do it. Like watching back all these Brady plays, man, the genius.
Yeah,
He's
Brady
actually
was
a
something
beast,
else.
man. I was actually watching a Brady clip today when they played the Giants in the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and then I
Oh,
realized
don't tell me.
this is
about
the
it.
second, not the first one, the second
They
one.
both suck.
Yeah, but at the end, like it was so fucked. I'm watching the highlights, and this one, the Giants, he ran into the end zone and he gave like the Brady guys 51 seconds left on the clock to like come back down, right? The guy was supposed to stop on the 1 yard line, then run out the clock, right? But he accidentally scored, right?
Right.
So he accidentally scores, so he gives Tom Brady 51 seconds. Dude, this guy throws 3 fucking darts in a row.
Yeah.
All 3 receivers dropped the ball. They would have won the Super Bowl.
Damn.
They would have won 17-0 that season.
Damn.
Oh, that season is
But
so
then there's
painful.
that too. Like, you can compare Mahomes and Brady, but I don't see Mahomes going 16-0 in a regular season on top of it.
He could do it.
You think so?
I do think so. I don't know that he will. I mean, that's a really hard thing to do. The only one I know who's come close was Cam Newton,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
they
yeah.
went
You went down the drain
15 and
too,
1 or
right?
16 and 1 that one year.
Cam Newton is playing at the All-Star game or the Celebrity All-Star game this year.
Hey, he did well for a while.
Yeah,
You know what else is crazy though? I think in this world where like betting is such a big thing now, and like you have everybody betting and like all these big companies throwing money at all these big names to like put up their parlays and promote their stuff. As a player, how do you not get affected by that? There's no way that you don't have access to seeing what's being thrown out there or
Oh,
like
no, they do.
So my question is, that has to be affecting the game somewhat.
I guess, but at the end of the day, they go out and they play the game, right? Like, it's what they're going to do. They're still playing the game. Like, you can't determine everything. The refs are influenced to a certain extent.
There's that bias somewhat.
They're influenced, but, like, at the end of the day, between the sticks, it's like we look at the game yesterday. Refs, maybe they were influenced on Chiefs, maybe blah, 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 Taylor Swift.
First half, there seemed to be a lot of calls, and there was nothing in the second half. I don't know if there was a single penalty in the second.
In the second half, right, like, there's nothing going on. The game went to overtime. It could have went either way. They could have scored. Yeah. San Francisco could have scored a touchdown there, right? Like, it was up to them, and who was the better team on the field? The Chiefs. I mean, it was, like, visibly. Like, you could visibly see
third and fourth quarter, they took over.
Yeah.
But the first half, the San Fran defense was amazing.
Yeah, but then the guy, did you see him tear his Achilles?
Yeah.
So, okay, here's a good question. How many of that you think is drugs related? Like, these look very much like steroid
they are
injuries, right?
But I feel like a lot of these athletes are on steroids.
Absolutely.
In the NFL, how are you telling me these guys aren't? Like,
I know they definitely do HGH and all that stuff.
There has to be.
Yeah.
Even NBA players, I feel like to some level they're on some sort of supplement.
gear.
Some sort of gear.
Yeah.
It has to
because like they always seem like those little tiny ones, like top athlete like goes to do a natural movement like sprinting.
Yeah.
It's like the tear in the Achilles or whatever, right? It's always the tendons and these.
But look at how they're built. Like
that guy was a linebacker, I think.
He was Greenlaw,
Yeah, linebacker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Linebacker.
So like, I mean, he's probably 250 pounds.
Yeah, just built. And he just went and he hopped or
just
whatever.
Fucking machines.
Yeah.
Just machines.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like there has to be some, like they have to be, like LeBron James, you're telling me he's what, how old? Like
39.
He's not
38?
natty. There's no way.
No way.
39?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Like,
but how is your body still producing that much
Yeah.
testosterone at the age of 40 and you look like, like you're fucking still 25 running down the court?
Well, walking back down the court, I guess.
But walking back, but you know what I mean.
40?
Oh wait, we didn't even introduce.
What?
Do
Introduce
an
Dan?
introduction, yeah.
Everybody knows Dan, man.
Dan's our producer.
Yes, sir.
Introduce yourself.
Producer. I'm Dan. I'm the studio tech. Usually, I own the podcast studio, Speakeasy Podcasts. Need podcasts done? Let me know. It's the easiest way to do it.
Shout out.
Yeah. I've been. Yeah. I don't know what else you want to know.
Just introduce us. Let us know who you are.
Yeah, man. Let us know.
Let the world know.
What's going on? What's going on in the life of Dan?
How are
Valentine's Day coming up, man.
Oh yeah,
What's
man.
going on? You ready?
Yeah, my lady's in town.
Oh,
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, getting married next month. Well, I guess we'll do our civil ceremony this week, and we'll go to Brazil and do a wedding down there too. But yeah.
Excited?
Yeah. Dude, there's been so much this year, like taking over this podcast studio. I literally took my whole life and just flipped it upside down in one go.
Would you say you took like a bit of a risk and kind of bet on it?
On which part?
Everything. Like
everything.
Podcast, marriage,
Everything's a risk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it comes down to like how do you want your life to be, right? It's like you could, I don't know. I'm 35. So for me, I was working in a job that was fine. I liked everybody I worked with, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. I always wanted to own something. So when this opportunity came up, it was like, why not?
Yeah.
Right? The risk would be, okay, so you try something, it doesn't work. Okay, whatever, you quote unquote failed in business. But otherwise you sit in your job and you hate your job and then you're 5 years older and shit, I'm 40 and I still hate my job and I'm not making the kind of money I want to make and all that stuff. So it was kind of, it happened a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be, but that's fine. It's good. Like, yeah.
I feel like it's a perfect time to get into this because like there's so many people wanting to get into podcasting.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many businesses that see the, like how lucrative it is to promote themselves in this way.
Yeah, it's super easy too, right? Like, so you look at guys who, I get a lot of realtors come in and use the space.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense because, they're paying how much for a bus stop ad, right? How many people really look at a bus stop ad?
On today's day.
Geez, like
unless you're slapped
you basically train yourself to ignore that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I know you think it works, but everybody's ignoring you.
100%. It's true.
What is the woman? She's all over here. Monica Dabrowski, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Monica-
yeah.
yeah, I never seen it.
The only reason I know it, because my friend Tom is this hilarious guy, and he was driving around with his like 2-year-old daughter, and he kept seeing this Monica Dabrowski sign, and so he just started singing this little ditty that he made up on the spot.
Yeah.
But Monica Dabrowski, da, 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 da. Like, that's the only reason I know her.
The only one that comes to my head is Randy Manholmes. And
Well, Randy was on. He was in this chair, guys.
Yeah.
In this chair.
He was actually like the OG of that stuff.
Yeah, he was on the bus.
And then even with podcasting, or was it TikToks? Or Randy Man?
Yeah. And
He was like the first one to start doing that stuff.
Yeah.
He blew up on it. And
Early
then
adopters.
everybody, yeah. And then everybody kind of jumped on.
Yeah. He was awesome. He was one of my favorite guests you guys had on.
Yeah.
Super genuine guy.
He was very
funny,
hilarious.
well-spoken, like smart guy.
Yeah.
Got his stuff together.
But yeah, like you're right. This is the new form of
Well, yeah, like you come in here and
self-promotion.
you shoot for an hour,
Yeah.
and then you've got content you can continue to repurpose. You can get it on Instagram, and some people's clips are going viral. Millions of views.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So you're reaching a way bigger audience in a lot shorter time frame for a lot less.
And a lot less
Cost.
money, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like a lot of real, like even like the Gora Jat guy, right? Like,
You
see
gotta
that
bring, you
guy,
gotta
like
bring your
Kelly?
chair in. You always have some.
This guy's always
He's always leaning back.
He's
I
like
gotta get him the mic arm just
shying
for him
away.
because he's always doing this audio levels.
He thinks it's that Nelk Boy setup where they got the nice chairs.
Yeah. I'm working on that. I gotta get some capital, and then
we'll be there, man. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But
there you go. That's good.
See,
Good.
podcasting is hard though. Like if you're doing a self promotion for like your business, it makes sense. It's like, the money's there and like you're kind of promoting your business.
Yeah.
But like when you're doing a podcast like we do, it's a hard game because you got to try to find a niche audience. You got to try to find a big audience, and you got to try to like keep it relevant. You got to like, there's so many different things you kind of got to touch. And it's hard to reach all sorts of demographics, right? Because I feel like we're brown. We kind of...
No. You guys aren't brown.
You know what I mean? And
really?
like... yeah. And then... So it's hard to like get out of that demographic and try to hit a different crowd. And then you also got to be very like...
we love the brown listeners, though. We appreciate it.
No, we obviously appreciate everybody that listens. But the formula we have is like, we're bringing on guests which are kind of self-promoting their business.
For sure.
And then that's kind of what we rely on for in terms of who's going to follow into view. But then the hardest part with that sort of formula is a lot of people that come on are very political in how they speak.
Yeah.
And you can't really bend the rules or boundaries on what questions to ask or talk to them, because a lot of the times then it's like, we don't want the podcast released, or
turn the comments
off, or and
turn the comments
Yeah,
off.
somebody actually did comment on our TikTok saying that I was a big fan of the podcast, but if you guys are gonna delete comments, blah blah blah, like I'm not gonna. Did you see that?
yeah.
And there,
Who is this? Which guest? Oh,
this is
you
a
tell me
random.
off air.
I don't know what guest. No, it wasn't about the guest.
No,
It
because
was
we had a couple of guests
asked to
then
delete some Oh, actually, yeah.
we
So
had to
then-
delete the comments because
someone's
we
like-
have like people that comment like they go off.
Yeah. Our
Like,
commenters are fucking wild. bro.
TikTok comments are bad.
You
And
guys,
I-
TikTok, you guys are fucked, man.
Yeah.
You guys
They're
are actually
bad.
fucked, man.
like
Yeah.
These guys
some of the
say-
shit they
The
say,
is
like,
fucking outlandish, man. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to say it's kind of funny
Say
sometimes,
it,
but
man.
like
You might
it's
as
funny
well.
sometimes to like look at it, but you're like, damn, like holy shit, man.
Like it's at us too.
It's
Like,
not us too.
yeah.
Yeah, we all get it.
We'll-
Don't
we'll
worry,
leave
we're in
the-
it together.
like for us, if people comment, we'll leave it up. Like
Yeah.
it's like whatever, out of sight, out of mind. But like for some people, like obviously they take offense and they're like, "Can you remove the comments?" And
Yeah. So somebody was just like, hey, like you should have it for like your comments open and stuff. Like I like that fact that like people could like
Yeah.
say their opinion on your guys's
yeah,
like platform, because most of our videos from before, like especially like season 3, like we never deleted any comments. Like and there's like
but then we had
Yeah.
guests like that.
I don't know
Where-
why you would. I mean,
yeah,
first of all, it's the internet. Like, who cares?
but yeah, like turn your phone off.
Yeah, why? You did a podcast, man. Like, okay.
That's where it's tough, right? Because you have that's where I said our formula is tough, because we're bringing on guests that one are promoting their business, and 2, they don't want any sort of stigma that comes against it, right? So, and for me personally, I feel
I
like
know what they're saying, but like oftentimes it's always the case that if you get bad press or whatever, like
it's a good thing.
it is a good thing
Look at
because
Trump.
you're getting attention, and then any of the discerning listeners are going to go through and be like, oh, actually, this person's a pretty good person, and then that guy's a dick, so let's support him, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think people are too sensitive about stuff like that.
And then that's like, look at Trump. That's how he rose to the top with all
Dude,
the hate.
that clip of him making Kelly's like trying to get him to, it's like, you call women fat and everything. He goes, only Rosie O'Donnell. Like, that is one of the best things I've ever seen.
It was perfect. That was spot on.
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
He's so funny.
Dude.
I honestly feel like
But the best part, watch that clip because Megyn Kelly almost cracks a smile. You
Yeah.
can see her like, oh,
Great
that was
character.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so good.
how can you hate the guy though?
I don't know, man. He's hilarious.
But I actually watched a clip of Piers Morgan, and he went on the Breakfast Club, and the Breakfast Club is like anti-Trump and all this.
Yeah.
And he asked him a couple simple questions. He's basically said that Obama deported over, I think, how many million immigrants out of America, and that's almost half less or half more than what Trump did, right? And they hate Trump for that.
Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing.
And he's like, and he asked him, he's like, to Charlemagne, do you even know the number of how many immigrants Obama deported? He's like, no, I don't.
How many bombs did Obama drop?
How many bombs did Obama drop? He asked him that.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you know the number of that? He's like, no.
Yeah, but it's the way that they skew it, right? It's like, oh, because it's a drone strike, they don't count it as a bomb or whatever because he didn't, quote unquote, give the order. But it's like, dude, his numbers are insane.
Those 2 questions.
Oh.
And then he's like, and Charlemagne and what's the other guy? Envy. They had nothing to say. They're like, oh, we don't know the number. Charlemagne kind of tried being ignorant or whatever. And then he's like, if it was Trump, he's like, you would have the number.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's the syndrome. He's like, you guys have no reason to hate him, but y'all hate him. Y'all don't understand what the politics are, but y'all understand, like, you know, what the media wants you to understand.
Yeah.
And that's just the shitty part of it all.
Yeah, right? Because you could see the collusion, right? If you're, you know, who wags the tail? Is it the Democratic Party or is it the media? Who's in charge? It's pretty hard to say.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're so tightly wound. It's just...
Do you think the
such a
Vivek guy's
farce.
going to win the vice presidency?
I think that'll be a great duo, Vivek and Trump as Vivek as a VP.
I like him. There was a video, though, that somebody released where they took his speech and they basically paired it with Obama's speeches.
And it was similar.
It was like the exact same thing. I'm just
I
a tall, skinny brown guy.
Yeah.
Obama's like, I'm just a tall, skinny black guy.
Yeah.
Just like all of these phrases, he was like,
I saw that.
He got his like name out there though.
The only thing I'd say about Vivek is why like obviously he says things that are very true, drops some good points, and like he's always got an amazing answer. He's very good with his words, and I mean that could be a good
Biden
and bad
has
thing.
is great with his words too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you see what he fucking tweeted after the Super Bowl?
Yeah, he said we all something.
He said
like
there's something with the script or something,
like
and
the
his
script,
like eyes. Was that? It was his account.
Yeah, it was his account. It was like I scripted it
was
or something,
fucked,
some
man.
stupid thing. Like he's so lost. But I think it's gonna be Michelle Obama.
Yeah, I've heard that they're gonna wheel out what's his name because they can't like replace. They don't want Kamala, so they can't replace him with Kamala because nobody likes her.
Kamala's not the smartest.
And then they'd be like, you're gonna get rid of Kamala for like Newsom and like get rid of the first, quote unquote black woman.
Yeah,
like, they can't do that.
No.
And then they're gonna do the bait and switch and then bring
this is real.
bring Michelle in apparently.
Like just like we drew it up. What the fuck?
What's he trying to say?
Like look at he's got fucking Mahomes eyes on here.
He's a weirdo, man.
Yeah, shout out him. Right?
But yeah, so I think Vivek is good, but the only reason I really think Vivek is good because the biggest thing is he has his own money. He's a billionaire on his own. He doesn't need, that money to come in, and he doesn't need people telling, like, he'll do what he needs to do.
Yeah.
He won't rely on someone else's paycheck to be like, okay, well, he's going to fill my pockets. I'll do what he wants me to do.
I think I heard it. I think the numbers are, I might have these numbers right, but it costs something like, I don't know if it's $500,000 or $50 million to run for governor. There's like 500,000 to run, or 500 million to run for president.
Yeah.
Like the
It
numbers
costs a lot of money.
It costs so
and he's
much.
putting that money out of his own pocket.
Yeah.
Which is big.
Yeah.
So I think that's
that's
where
what Trump
like,
did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he genuinely cares because he's got kids growing up in this country. He came into this country and his parents came here, and he's like, obviously I grew up in a different time, but he's worried for what the world is becoming. And he's like,
For sure.
he's like, we need to deal with issues with. Yo, shout out to Jesse Sahota. If you're in Delta, you live in Delta, go vote for Jesse Sahota.
Yeah.
He's
with the blue team.
He's with the blue team. Yeah. No, he's talking about the right stuff, man.
Yeah.
And I support that. And he's a great guy. He's he's a community guy. He's been involved with the community. He's a police officer. You wouldn't have anyone else standing in that position. Like he's an amazing candidate.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, so we fully back him. But
what do you think about the Just Rain show?
I think have you watched it, Late Bloomer?
You should
No.
watch it.
No.
I didn't watch anything new. It's just
I think the beginning was kind of slow, but the last 2 episodes it got pretty
Did you
intense.
watch the finale?
Yeah.
I gotta watch it.
So that got pretty intense. But Oda, I think like
wait a minute.
Pretty good.
I think what is this? Is this the show? There's a
Just Rain.
yeah, that guy.
That guy.
On Crave.
The turban guy.
Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, what? all of my terminology just flew out the window because I've only seen the thing on Crave, right? So like, there's the video where the clip in the trailer where the little girl's standing there, and she's like, he looks like and then
that's it,
right?
that's
And then
show.
it shows his reaction. So that's the only reason I know it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good show, but I'd be curious to see what you think of it, because I don't know if you'd be able to relate to it, whereas we can relate.
I don't know.
to
What is it about?
It's basically growing up in a brown household and the typical story of like a kid that wants to choose a career into, let's just say like me and this guy, podcasting, but you're kind of going against the norm of not being, going into medicine or a lawyer, and then the issues you have with dealing with society, people talking shit about you, your internal conflicts and within your household, within your father, your mother. Your mother kind of sees what you're trying to do, went through the similar struggle when she was younger, but accepted her life as being like the home take care person. And then she kind of like, pushes you against the grain not to do that, but like she kind of supports you indirectly, whereas the father is just fully against it.
Right.
Is fucking telling you you're fucking useless, what are you doing with your life? And that battle just grows and grows and grows until it boils over one day and like something big happens, the son leaves the house, that type of thing. But that's where it's different, because I feel like
you guys' families are first generation Canadians, right?
No.
They immigrated or
immigrated.
Oh, so that makes them first, doesn't it? Or does that make them? Does that make them first? Does that make?
I don't know. My dad was born in India. My mom was born here.
Okay,
so it's like a hybrid.
So they immigrated. It's
hybrid model. Yeah. So, but yeah.
So I've listened to you guys talk about this stuff a lot on the show, and it's been fascinating learning about it. But there's a huge difference between how you guys are raised and now my family, because it's almost the exact opposite, where there's very little expectation, and that can be just as stifling and just as challenging, because if you have too many options, I was always told you can do whatever you want to do. Like, really? Anything? And like, well, no, not really, right? So there's not enough direction in a conversation like that, so you get lost. I mean, you just kind of float, right? I spent a lot of time not knowing what I wanted to do. So, it's the opposite of you, where I didn't have any pressure, where some pressure in a certain direction would have been good.
Yeah. But do you feel like that made you feel like they didn't care enough? Where it's kind of like, we know you're...
No, I wouldn't say it's that they didn't care enough. I mean, you might actually... No, like my parents are great and have a good relationship with them, but sometimes it is more beneficial to have a hard conversation with somebody and say, you know what, maybe you're not good at that. Yeah. You should probably pursue that. Or like, hey, it might take you 10 years to get here, but if you start now, that's the end goal. I didn't have any kind of laid out plans for me. I just kind of had to, I just kind of had to float around and see, I was interested in arts and acting and all that stuff, but they didn't have any point of reference for it. No one in my family was interested in stuff like that. My dad's was a CFO, right? So numbers, hard line stuff, but there was never any breakdown of what a career could look like anywhere. It was just do something, just get a degree, any kind of degree. And it's like, okay, maybe that was good advice.
So they cared about the paper.
They cared about the paper, but it didn't matter what the paper got you. It was always this kind of vague open door, get that vague piece of paper that says you did something so that maybe some vague door that you don't know where to knock on is going to open for you.
Yeah.
And then you do it and you find out the opposite is true. It's like nobody gives a shit about your piece of paper anymore.
Yeah.
Like, what's your work experience? What are you offering me? Right?
That's interesting.
College's degrees are cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, they're expensive, but they're not worth anything anymore.
So how was it for you in that terms? Like I feel like that's kind of similar to us, but in a sense where our parents, like, were you expected to be out of the house by like a certain age?
No.
And were you given handouts like, we'll take care of your degree, we'll take care of your schooling, we'll take care of all that money, you can live with us. So you were given kind of the similar treatment to us. That's similar.
Very similar.
Very similar.
Yeah, but there came a point like when I can't remember how old I was anymore, but I was still living at home and I had done, I don't know how many degrees at that point. I've got way too much schooling. Like I've got a master's, a bachelor's, I've done film school, I've done personal training.
Shit,
like, I've been in school. I think I did 10 years of post-secondary. But yeah, there was a point when I was still living at home and I really felt this internal weakness where people would ask like, oh, where are you living? Like, oh, I live with my parents. And like, but it was like in here, it's like, oh, I feel weak.
I know what you mean, yeah.
So I started to pay attention to that and I recognized it. And then I was like, okay, this is stupid. I am too old. Like they should have given me a hard deadline, I feel, because that's how I was back then. I just would have continued to float.
Yeah.
But once I did finally make the decision, I'm like, I don't like my relationship with my parents because when I live with them, we kind of hate each other.
Yeah.
But anytime I wasn't living with them, we had a great time. We talked to them all the time, right? So I made the decision to leave. I was like, I got to go do something for myself.
Yeah.
And as soon as I did, it was like, oh, wow, okay. This is great, man. Like responsibility's good. You start valuing your money more, so you actually have more of it.
Yeah.
You start doing more interesting things, and I started to feel better about myself. And it was this, there is a degree where compassion and like taking care of somebody is detrimental, right?
Oh, 100%.
Like Freud called it the devouring mother, too much compassion, and then you steal the child's future.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you see a lot maybe in our community,
That
but our
our
community
culture,
doesn't believe in
Psychotherapy.
that, or like even distance. Like for us,
you guys are very close, and like from what I've seen, you guys are all very much in each other's business.
but that's why it's not a good thing.
Well, I mean, there's the opposite, which is me, where like everybody's an individual, but then we have no culture left because nothing matters. It all matters is like, how do you feel? It's like, well, how do I know what I feel, right? Your feelings are changing.
What do you mean by you don't have any culture left?
Well,
Do you feel like everybody's just kind of like
the more you become an individual,
Yeah.
the less you have any kind of identification to a culture that you come from, right? Like, how do you identify what a white Canadian is? I don't know, they like hockey and mostly Canadian, right? Like, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have
I see
traditional
what you're saying.
clothing anymore.
Yeah. I see
Right?
what you're saying.
We all speak English, but it's not really like because we came from a certain region.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately we did, but it's such a widespread language now that it's,
Yeah.
you guys have a very specific place that you came from very recently
Yeah.
with its customs and its traditions. Even if you look at the history of Christianity, which you can call a white person religion, but it really started in the Middle East. But it's after the Protestant Revolution in the 16th century, or Protestant Reformation, it came down to the individual, right? They essentially said what the collective society of the Catholic Church says is true doesn't apply to me. And they went with the personal interpretations of the scriptures, right? That's what became paramount. So as soon as that happened, you started seeing all of these fractionations
Over time.
in a very, very short amount of time, where now there's a million different, sects of Christianity, Protestant Christianity, and they can all believe their own version of Christianity,
Yeah.
right? Like one person believes X, one person believes Y, and they hate each other over it. Where it's like,
Yeah.
What's the common ground? But they don't do that. They just fight over
What's right?
these little differences,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I
Like
agree.
Sikhi has that too. a
I mean,
little bit,
we
right?
have that too. I think with over time, there's like different interpretations of many different parts of
like different gods. Some people
Yeah, like-
worship like different things.
and people will fight on like little
So,
things like, you
Do
know,
you
can we
guys
sit
have?
on a
Are
table?
you guys monotheistic or not? I don't know what is Sikh. Is it like one god?
It's an
one.
eternal, so the
Yeah.
one. So like
Yeah.
you kind of believe, yeah.
Right.
Um,
Because Hinduism has all of like,
Yeah.
a million.
Yeah. But I think with like this, it's a similar thing with Sikhi too. I think in terms of like there's different interpretation. Like for example, I think not so much anymore, but back in the day there used to be at different temples this beef over if you can have
Like
tables or
chairs,
chairs at a langar hall, which is the kitchen area where they eat, or you have to sit on the ground and eat.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And some gurdwaras or some committees were against it and some were for it. And there was huge issues over that. So I think over time, different interpretations happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
People see things differently. And then there's people that try to like create, you know, their own little different realm of
rules and
rules
whatever
and
fits
truth
kind
to
of
kind of bend the rules towards what they believe in.
Now, is that because they've come here and are influenced by the individualism of the West?
I think so.
Yeah.
That
Because that's
happens.
what I see from the conversations I've had with you
Mhm.
guys. Like I've seen that really starting to take over in your guys' communities.
But
It's
that's
like,
the biggest issue.
yeah, there's, you know, obviously individuals are important, right? But
Yeah.
where do you fit, right? You can't just be an individual
Mm-hmm.
because my decision doesn't just affect me. It affects me, all the way through the future, but then it affects everyone else around me that I'm
Yeah.
involved with. We like to pretend it doesn't,
It does.
but it totally does, right? So if I lie to myself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, then I don't have a standard of truth anymore. So then I lie to that person. And if I keep lying to everybody, like
Yeah.
you aren't the same person. You're a fractured individual.
Yeah.
So you don't have any strength. So that's kind of the idea with like, I guess society versus an individual, right? If you're only an individual and you don't think anything else matters, then
Yeah.
you can't relate back to anything, because if you disagree with them, then they're oppressing you, right? We see this all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's an oppressor and everyone's a
Everyone's a
victim because
victim,
nobody
yeah.
wants to agree with what that individual says, but we outsource our sanity, right? We're not individuals solely. We're all of the evolutionary history says we're communal animals.
Yeah, we are.
So I've seen you guys are very communal based, right? So
Yeah.
for like your parents to be like, okay, you know, we want you to become a doctor or a lawyer, maybe because it doesn't benefit you, but it does, but it benefits the group
Mm-hmm.
for you to do that.
And it's about how it looks too, right? Like towards.
I think
the rest of
perception.
society.
Yeah, I can see how
Perception is a
that
huge
stuff
thing.
definitely would annoy you for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that comes from a deeper thing, like in our society. Like I don't know if how it is for you, but like coming from back home, like our great grandfathers, like they've had this land, and that land is getting passed on from great grandfather, to
like
up
back
until
in India.
back in India
Yeah.
to your father. And now your father decides to immigrate to Canada, so he starts working his ass off
And replicates the same
and
model.
replicates the same model.
Yeah.
Now you have a house or whatever he's built, and that's
You guys
gonna
own
get
all the land.
all the land, right? So now that pressure is on you as a son
Yeah.
to continue that model. But what happens is, like you said, now you're living in a Western influenced society.
Yeah.
And the culture here is different. You grow up in a different environment, which they don't understand, right? In
Mhm.
their mind, okay, you're going to school, you're going to grow up, we're going to
Yeah.
give you all the money to become successful, because in
Yeah.
their mind, this is what the norm is here. You got to become a doctor, a lawyer, or a fucking whatever.
I don't know any doctors. I know one lawyer.
Yeah.
It's not like
But there's few, but
yeah. I feel it's all the immigrants who are taking those jobs now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because they value that stuff.
yeah. And so they model that from back home.
Yeah.
But what happens is, I think now you're getting now you have kids growing up with all the opportunity in the world, all the money in the world, because your parents worked hard, and now they're willing to
Yeah.
give you anything and everything. But now you're influenced by the Western culture. So now you're really kind of straying away from the path of what they wanted you to go. And that's where that friction comes in.
Yeah. Totally.
Because you're not following that same old model, and you're kind of straying away from that path and what they envisioned for you to be, and to carry on that lineage, to have kids and blah 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 blah, and keep that model going, and so forth and so on, and that's where that friction happens, which has created so many issues within our community.
I can totally see that. I don't know how you guys solve it, but
you can't really, because like, even though people say be the change you want to be, like, you see
that's such a individualist perspective,
right,
man? Like,
exactly. And then it's harder because now growing up as like for me, him, and probably the generation that's younger than him, they got other shit to deal with. Fuck what your parents give you. Fuck the land, money, jobs and shit. I feel like
you don't want to be a farmer anymore, right?
They got other social issues that they're gonna have to deal with. Like, look at the fucking country we're living in now, right? So for us growing up, like for you and me, we grew up in a town that's completely fucking different. No social media, no outside influence. If I lived on this street, that was my influence. That was my community. That was my environment. But now you have kids that live on this street, but they see the world. They have access to everything and anything, and influence from millions and millions of other people. So it's a different world now.
Yeah.
So now you don't just have Western influence. Now you have the whole world at your fingertips. And now you're being influenced by many different kids. And as a kid, that's fucking with your mind, because...
Yeah, that's hard. Because you don't... when you're young, you don't have that perspective. But as you get older, you can be like, okay, well, like, look... Maybe I'm not the bee's knees, right? Maybe I'm not the shit.
Yeah.
And you can accept that and be like, okay, what can I do with what I have?
Yeah.
But I think as a kid, that's so much harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
like for me,
right? Your imagination.
Because now kids are dealing with different, like for me, looking back, sometimes we'll sit down, we'll talk about like what we used to do as kids, and it was just simple things.
Street hockey.
We talk about like fucking playing some video games, like if we had that, or
if
like going out. Like if we're allowed to play.
If we're allowed to,
right? Like we used to be happy in like the little things.
Yeah.
And like now, as a kid that's growing up, he looks back and he's gonna look back at like what, like just.
I was scrolling on TikTok.
Right?
Yeah. Like, oh, I didn't get this game, or I didn't, like, I feel like there's so many more social issues, and like these kids are losing themselves in those.
Yeah.
And losing a part of their childhood, a part of, like, someone said to me that you have to keep your imagination alive. Well, what if your imagination doesn't even start?
Well, the only way you can have an imagination is if you're bored. You have to have that time of like, well, what do I do?
But
I mean, there's times,
right? But you've got a phone, right?
Yeah.
It's just like you pull out the phone.
There's times at night as a kid, I'd sit there just staring at the fucking ceiling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you didn't have a phone to just open up and fucking... You had your own imagination. Like, you had your own things you would do. You'd create... If you're bored, you'd create little fucking games and do something.
Yeah, that's how I started doing, film. I've been in film and television pretty much my whole life because I was, kind of interested in it. I loved movies as a kid. And then... one night it's like, oh, we got my dad's video camera here. Let's just pick that up, and then just pointed it at somebody and started doing silly shit, right? But nobody ever saw it because it wasn't going live stream to the world. It was just, but it was all those things just spawned more and more little ideas where we were silly. We had our inspirations, but we didn't have any structured play.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, okay, you've got the whole summer.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You just find something, right?
There's
and
no
there was
messaging. There's
you
walk outside, you ring on buddy's doorbell. Yo, you want to play hockey? Are you home?
I can't. Okay, I'll do something else,
you
right?
go to the next guy's house, and that's it. Like that's what life was when. Like,
and I think that's what it should have been, right? And that's what it should be going.
Maybe it's just the world that we're living in now, and I don't see it changing back anytime soon. Like, I do not see like it going in reverse order and kids starting to play.
But that's what I'm saying is like now it's different.
I mean, yes and no. My sister has a 5-year-old, and she's been very intentional about making sure that he doesn't have screen time, right? But they are fortunate. They're in Chilliwack, so it's a little more of a conservative community. And they do have this really good neighborhood where there's some kids their own age that do like to play outside.
That's good.
Yeah, but there is a tension because some parents, his best friend, he's 5 as well, but he's got 2 younger siblings, so the parents are just spending so much time with the younger kids that he's high energy and bored, and he's on YouTube a lot, and
Yeah.
they bought him an Alexa, I think, so that he can ask questions to the Alexa instead of asking questions to the parent.
Oh shit.
Which I think is kind of funny, but at the same time, it's like, what are you as a parent giving up?
Yeah.
Right?
Fuck. Alexa.
That's a little.
Everybody, you know,
Yeah.
kids asking questions is obviously annoying, but
It's a part of.
Yeah.
that is the cycle of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're kind of abdicating that part of parenting, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
And you can't filter out the questions.
Mhm.
This kid's asking Alexa.
Would you want to raise kids in this world?
yeah, I'd take them outside and go hunting.
Mm.
We'll get into that.
Okay.
But what I was curious about is, you know how like for us, I said like that generational wealth is very, very important. Like
Yeah.
our parents are,
yeah.
whatever they've built, they're passing that on, and you know it's not about them like retiring and wanting to go travel or be like we're gonna spend all our money
Yeah.
before we leave this world. For them, it's like save, and
Yeah.
pass that on. How's that for you guys?
It is to a degree.
Yeah.
My dad's been great in helping people out, like invested in a house with my sister. So they've got a fully equipped basement suite. So when my parents live in Australia,
Yeah.
so they're most of the time they're down there, but when they come here, they have a place to stay now. But then they can Airbnb that bedroom out or the basement out. It's a sick basement suite, actually.
That's
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah, right. So, but it helps them too because they were a young couple with a kid and
Yeah.
looking to upgrade. So then, shares the wealth around.
Yeah.
He helped me buy a place too, and did it for my other sister as well. So he is intentional about that.
Yeah.
But there's an interesting, John Adams, one of the founding fathers of America.
Sounds familiar.
So it's like Thomas Jefferson, George Washington.
Yeah.
John Adams is always like the forgotten one. He's the second
Yeah.
president. He's a very important, very
Yeah.
influential guy in American history. He has this great quote about, he's talking to one of the French ambassadors. They're like, does your son like the theater? Or do you like the theater or something like that? And he's like, no, I don't have time for that. And he says, I study politics so that my son can study farming, so that his son can study art.
Mm.
There's a very clear progression. I probably didn't get those professions exactly right, but there's a very clear progression of like first generation, second generation, third. So that's why I asked, like, what generation are you guys? Because I've seen it so clearly fall into these, like, okay, first generation works really hard at something they don't really necessarily
I think we're
want
second.
to do. Yeah. So then the second generation just gets to do something a little bit different so that the third generation can do whatever they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, the difference between like a white Canadian who's been, his whole family's been here forever, is that my grandfather did that so that my dad could do that. So now I have unlimited choice, essentially, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
it's like he did that. Now you can do whatever. You can study art. You have the freedom to study art because we can afford for you to be an artist if that's what you want to do,
Yeah.
right? But immigrants don't have that luxury necessarily of having a kid that
Mhm.
doesn't want to contribute or is not able to contribute
Yeah.
Yeah.
financially.
I think there's that pressure on a certain degree of certain second generation kids because it's like that responsibility to take that pressure off your father.
So maybe part of it is that you guys are here with a bunch of Canadians who have been here, and we're in that different cycle of life, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Did you see at the Winnipeg Jets game when they were singing the national anthem in Punjabi? Like the two brown girls were singing. Grown man with his tripod recording himself.
Yeah, I cringe anytime I see a grown man film himself.
Yeah.
I just I don't belong in that culture.
That's like Joe Rogan when he said, like, I hate guys that fucking tell me it's their birthday. He's like, fuck off. He's like, you're a grown adult and you're celebrating your birthday and you want a cake for your fucking 35th birthday. He's like, go fucking.
I know.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, yeah.
I have a problem.
I feel that as I'm getting older, for sure.
In my previous employee roles, I always got annoyed when people brought birthday cards to the office.
Oh,
Saying,
yeah.
I hate
guys, why are you bringing your birthday to the office that we have to celebrate it?
Yeah.
It's such an awkward
we
thing.
can be, colleagues and coworkers and have a good time, but we shouldn't have to celebrate your birthday.
Yeah.
I just think it's such a personal thing, and
Yeah.
why
I
are you
agree.
bringing that into the office? I don't know.
It makes me uncomfortable too.
Yeah,
Because there's that level of expectation, like, oh, you're gonna treat me special today because my birthday.
Yeah.
It's like, dude,
It's like,
that's your fucking
grow
yeah,
up,
yeah.
you know?
Fuck your birthday.
Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah.
That's why I don't even tell people at work
when
it's my birthday or like anything.
Bro,
like
mine has it in the fucking email, man. The Daily Mail. It says every single person's
newsletter?
birthday.
That's so stupid.
I took the day off last year and I cut the grass.
Yeah,
That's what I
like
did.
that's
on my
real
birthday last
people
year.
things,
Yeah.
right? Like, fuck, people got shit to do.
Yeah, that's really what it was. I was house sitting and I was like, you know what? They're coming home soon. I got to cut this grass, make this place. I'll take the day off.
Yeah,
Had a great day.
nice.
Ride on lawnmower, a couple of acres in South Langley. It was a beautiful day.
Got some shit done. Yeah, I think there's so many different things happening in this world right now that like I feel like don't make sense, and that was one, the fucking anthem, and then obviously that fucking made me cringe.
Yeah.
But you guys seem to be, your culture seems to really embrace hockey.
Yeah. We do.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, we do.
You love it. Yeah.
Hockey. Sports in general, actually, I feel like.
I think
You guys
it's
do
a
cricket?
it's a Canadian
Yeah.
sport.
You like
Well, cricket and field. I don't
No,
like
the
it
reason why
personally.
they embrace it is a Canadian sport.
Well, because
and like you get to fucking go out there and promote your fucking.
not even that.
You know what I mean? Like
but
you're
then-
sitting at Rogers Arena singing "Oh Cat" in Punjabi. Like you're obviously gonna embrace.
I
the
want to hear
sport.
this. Can you guys sing
It's
it
all
for us?
perception.
I
It's how
can't.
society. They want to be the limelight.
Right.
But even that, like, the reason hockey I think is so relatable to Indo-Canadians is because hockey's was a sport that used to be around for kind of the older generation Canadians, like my grandparents kind of thing. So they were been watching hockey since fucking the time that, like, you know, like old people now have been
Right.
watching hockey, right? They've been probably watching since they're like 18, 19 years old, right? So like those are like the old Montreal Canadian days, Toronto Maple Leafs days.
Yeah.
So that's how I think it kind of got involved, and then people started slowly getting into hockey, and then started putting their kids into hockey, and then now it's kind of become more of a man. Like there's even like a kid that's a brown kid he's drafted to the Canucks right now. He plays on the Abbotsford team,
Oh, yeah.
and he's a
Abbotsford
brown
Canucks.
guy, and he's actually a Bains. So shout out.
Or Steve Bains.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
And
getting
then
flack.
he's good.
This is another thing I'll ask you guys about. You guys all seem to have very
Similar names.
there's like a handful of last names for you
Yeah.
guys.
yeah.
A lot of
I think-
Sings, a lot of Bains.
Well, Singh's like
Right?
a middle name, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, okay.
to differentiate between women and men
Male
are
Okay.
gurus like they
or woman.
a Singh was okay, you're a male, and then a Kaur is
Because
a
that means
woman.
lion, right?
Yeah,
Sing?
yeah.
Okay.
So that's what the middle name usually is, and then you have your first and last name. Last name is usually like from what part, like what village
Where
you're
you're
from,
from.
or like what area you're type of
Okay.
like that you get your last name from that. But then there's a lot of people that change their last names to like the typical last names when they come from India or Punjab because they're like a lower caste, and so to
Oh, okay.
to
So it's
hide
like
that.
escaping the caste system.
the caste system, and they'll change their last name to like
Interesting. Okay.
a certain similar last name because the caste system was a big thing.
Yeah.
Even though our culture, like Sikhi or Gurus, are against the caste system, the Punjabi people really pride themselves on being Jat.
Yeah, I mean, it still goes on till today, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it's a pretty prevalent thing.
You guys didn't really deal with anything like that, like in terms of like
caste
you know,
system?
Yeah, like you can't marry outside of,
Well, I mean,
you can't marry a brown girl. Like, did
it's
Dad
a
ever say
free for
that?
all.
Like,
I'm
you
marrying
know?
a Brazilian.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
y'all never really.
You'd never be able to trace their DNA.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like the most genetically diverse.
Yeah, like
country.
for us, like I think a lot of our parents are like very like you gotta marry
Certain, like,
a certain
thing, and
It's changing though.
yeah.
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 I have to marry white girls now.
I mean, fuck.
Wait, intercaste marriages aren't allowed, right? At the Gurdwara?
Interfaith.
Or interface, sorry, yeah.
Would you want to marry a white girl?
I don't know, man.
I don't think it's a want. It's about who you
Cindy,
fucking
where are you?
like who you get along with. Cindy or
Yeah.
fucking, you know what I mean? Like I don't think it's. See, in our culture, we are so
I feel like-
programmed to the bullshit.
Yeah.
Like our parents, and you can't blame them. It's what they fucking grew up with. They're so programmed to make you think that you gotta live a life a certain way, a certain style, and
Yeah.
they'll like gaslight you a little bit, and like they'll put you through all this like fucking trauma bullshit, and like, but they'll be like, you got to be perfect, and like, you might deal with the fucking most fucked up shit at home as a kid growing up, like, seeing your mom and dad fight, or like just the most stupidest shit, right? But to the society, you'll see the perfect fucking family.
Mm-hmm.
You see us come outside that next Sunday morning,
Yeah.
going to the temple, like you'll see the perfect, right? But the night before, it might have been just a fucking
Shit show.
shit show,
unfortunately, that's family.
Mhm.
right?
I was fortunate in that I never really saw my parents fight. They were always good about keeping that private.
But see, that's where the like Punjabi culture is, where it's like I think like our parents got the arranged marriage, they came and like they were kind of forced to like stick it out with each other, and that's it, whether it's like a fucking toxic relationship or not, like you gotta make it work. And then I think like that's where a lot of kids in our generation, second generation, are kind of dealing with that, because now you have girls growing up thinking that, well, I might be in a toxic relationship, but I gotta stick this out.
I mean,
And
toxic is the catchword of the day for
Well, yeah, but
chick
then
psychology, right?
yeah, exactly.
Everything's toxic if you don't like it.
Yeah.
But brown men can be toxic. I'll give some females that. But then also there's females that just fucking...
I mean, let's not pretend they're innocent parties.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel... And that's like, and that's where like I think they use that Western culture to their advantage.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, right? They throw in the bleeding heart, Western, feminized, liberal pop psychology at you all the time.
Yeah.
What does it even mean?
Yeah.
I remember growing up, I think I was 15 or 16, hearing that expression, happy wife, happy life.
Well, yeah.
And
Wife
I was
is-
sitting
we
there at
used to
school. I
hear
think I
wife
was in
is
French
knife.
class when I was thinking about this, and I went, no, that's not right. There's no way that could possibly be right.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like the idea that one person's happiness is going to tyrannize the entire family, that's not
Doesn't
okay.
make sense.
Yeah. It doesn't matter, like either or, like, man, woman, whatever. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And, women are notoriously unhappy and they don't know what makes them happy. So why would you base a lifestyle on somebody who doesn't really know, right? Like they're more prone to negative emotion than men. So the idea that their happiness should dictate the happiness of the family just seems ludicrous.
Do you think that's just because they're emotional, like very like, that's just how they're wired?
Yeah, for sure. They have to be
impulsive. Off
They have to
emotion?
be, right? Because they're wired for the infant.
Yeah.
They're more prone to negative emotion, more prone to threat, right? So
Yeah.
they have to, in order to take care of children. So I think that's...
Is it a threat to society that now that sort of ideology of what they believe in is becoming more powerful and accepted? In terms of like, if you were like what we're talking about right now, what you just said, there's going to be 1,000,001 people that are going to say, hey, he's wrong. And everybody's going to jump on you until you're trampled. And it's kind of like Trump, like just fuck, But do you feel like, and I feel like that happens more here in Canada. And I always use this like as an analogy. I used to see those protesters that protest against oil, or like and they'd go stand in front of cars and
Climate change.
climate change,
throw things at expensive works of art, right?
and I always say that like it's like that kid that knows he can keep pushing your buttons and he's not gonna have any repercussions, and so they do that shit like here in Canada or like areas where they know they're not. But I always say like go to Dubai and try that, and they're not gonna, because they know better.
Yeah. So
And they're only going to push that button where they know they can. But where they know they can't, they're not even going to fucking try it, because they know the fear of like, okay, wait, I'm going to guess, It's like the kid. You can't slap your kids anymore. Or you can't discipline your kids in a certain way anymore. Whereas I grew up on,
anyone could discipline you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's true most of the worldwide. Or like anybody can discipline you if you're out of line as a child.
Yeah.
Because again, there's a societal expectation of what a child's role is and like what you need to become.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big difference. But there is no matriarchal system that ever really survived. Right?
Yeah.
Because of the raw nature of men and women. So there's that movie that came out, The Woman King, because apparently you can only be equal if you're a king, but yet the female equivalent of a king is a queen, but that's not good enough, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was based on a tribe that those women captured and sold slaves to the Atlantic slave trade, right? But then when the French outlawed the slave trade, they still continued it. And so the French kept trying to tell them to stop, and they wouldn't do it. So then they decided to go to war with the French, and that whole tribe of women was annihilated in like 12 minutes. Right? Yeah. So I've been reading...
12 minutes.
Yeah. It's insane. You should look it up. I was reading Empire of the Summer Moon. It's about the Comanche culture in Texas.
Yeah.
You want to learn why there's like matriarchal systems just can't exist is because if there's the cultures like the Comanches.
Mm.
Those guys are unbelievably savage.
Yeah.
Amazing warriors, like super skilled horsemen, bowmen, but their culture was literally to make war, to steal horses, and to kill everybody. It was gnarly.
Yeah.
Indian on Indian, Indian on white, like didn't matter. Those guys were unbelievably cruel, unbelievably warlike.
Yeah.
So when there's guys who are riding in on a daily basis to rape and scalp you, no matter if you're a woman or a man, like they're going to just take everything from you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to stop them?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Can't. That's
so
reality.
And that's the same thing. It's like it's a silly idea that the world would only be a better place if women were in charge. There's a TV show out right now. It's The Regime with Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
She's in power and it's a female tyrant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's the difference? She's just as corrupt.
Yeah.
She's still a human, right? Human nature is human nature. We just express our darkness is expressed differently.
Differently, yeah.
But the results are usually the same, if not worse. It's wild, man.
But that's the reality of it.
And that is the reality, right? It's not to say that women are bad or men are good or anything like that, but you got to look at it. Like we have what are ivory tower privileged ideas to sit and think these things.
Yeah, that's what it is. I agree.
And when they come in to the real world, it's.
But I think one day we'll be tested.
Well, that's what I mean, right? You push one thing down. If you push masculinity down in one area of life or society, it's going to pop up somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
One day we're definitely going to be tested as a society where the world's going, I think. And the bigger agenda then you question is like, why are they trying to make us so weak?
It's a very good question.
The younger generations that are coming up, diluting them with all these other thoughts that don't need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Distracting everyone, creating divide and
give them
us
Ritalin
down.
if they can't sit still.
Yeah.
Right?
So why is
Treat them
that?
like a defective girl.
If we were to get fucking, let's just say.
Okay, well, let's just put it like this. Men on average are more disagreeable than women.
Mm-hmm.
Men are more likely to say no.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want a society of sheep, you have to get rid of the ability to say no.
No, yeah.
You got to kill the wolves.
Yeah. And it's a smaller pill that gets introduced, but over the last few years you see it exponentially growing, and over the next few years I think it'll grow and grow and grow until one day you'll just be like, fuck, like that's it. I think fucking Russia's gonna come in and
well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cultures out there that don't believe in democracy, that are not teaching these insane ideas. They're teaching traditional masculinity, strength, combat, reasoning.
Yeah.
And they're not that far away anymore. The world is not that big.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
And they've emasculated the entire U.S. Army. They've made the entry requirements nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you seen the U.S. Army TikToks? Pretty lit.
I haven't, no. I'm not on TikTok. I won't download that Chinese spyware onto my...
Honestly, you're good,
man.
bro.
I go fucking
I didn't do it for the longest time, and then when I did it, I was like, fuck, like, I wish I had it.
It steals your brain.
It does.
Yeah, so I notice anytime I'm on Instagram or on screen time too long, my ability to read goes away. I like reading hardcover books.
Yeah.
So it is a skill to focus. But anytime I'm
Yeah, it does take your
Yeah.
ability to read away.
Yeah,
I've noticed
so
that.
one of the nice things is, I've been in a long distance relationship and she's finally moving here, so it's like I'm just going to delete all that shit.
Yeah.
Like I don't need my phone, I can talk to her in person finally and like I don't need Instagram. I'm just going to delete all that stuff.
You got that like old school mentality to you too, because
Yeah, I mean, I'm 35, right?
Hunting and how's hunting?
I love it, man. Yeah. It was one of those things where it seemed meaningful.
And being in nature, I feel like teaches you a lot.
You know what?
Nature, like out in the wild.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I think it's like a skill you should have.
Well, not only is a skill you should have, but the appreciation of where your food comes from is so high. And so for me, I do deer and bear and duck and all that stuff. But I never really eat it by myself, the game meat by myself. I always cook it communally.
I share that.
Yeah. So there's a really interesting part where it is a solo activity. You might go with one or two guys, somebody helps you pack it out. But when you're the only person that's touched that animal in its entire existence, you were there when it died, you pulled the trigger on it, you cleaned it, you packed it out, you butchered it, and then you prepared it and fed it to people. That's a full circle experience. Yeah. It's very, very gratifying. I care so much every time I cook.
It's probably that feeling like when people eat it too, right? Like that.
Yeah. You introduce a game meat to people and everybody has their expectation of what it's going to be. Just before I came, I was eating, my fiance's Brazilian, never had bear sausage before, but I cooked her some bear sausage and we ate that and she was, hesitant, but then she's like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you it was going to be good, right? But it's a new food and yeah.
Nice.
What's your favorite meat that you...
Favorite meat? I mean, elk is delicious. I'm doing some roast duck on Wednesday there. I did, a few weeks ago, I shot a duck and I brought it home and I cooked it right away.
Yeah.
Dude, that was amazing. It was like eating a steak. That's what the texture was like.
Really?
I really, there's been very few instances of game meat where I'm like, this is gross. I don't think I've ever really had any.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the first time I had bear steaks.
Bear steaks?
Yeah. Yeah. You shot a bear? Yeah, I got 2 bears this year. 2 bears and a deer, and I got a deer last year, and yeah.
So what's your take on vegans?
Just like count your stats.
Count my stats? What does that mean?
When you go hunting, like, do you like, I got 1 bear
bears,
this year, the 2024 stats?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, yeah. So you get 2 bear a year.
Yeah.
You can get 1 mule deer and then 2 whitetail deer.
That's how many tags you get, right? Or
yeah, and then you can get, elk draws, moose, there's mountain goat, mountain sheep. There's a lot you can hunt. Yeah. Some of them are more limited entry hunts and stuff like that, but yeah. So you want to talk about stats though, like they say, 1 bear will kill 10 deer a year at least.
Mm-hmm.
The bear that I shot in the fall actually had killed a deer and had stashed it.
Damn.
So we saw it at 260 yards, and we could just see its body, and it was kind of like grooving around, like scraping the ground.
Yeah.
What the heck is it doing? I'd never seen this before. We watched it for about an hour. Finally, it came out, and I got the shot at, I think it was 256 yards.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then went down, and we were looking at it. I'm like, what is this big like mound of grass clippings? It looked like when you cut the grass and then dump the clippings out. And I started poking around in there. I'm like, oh, this thing had stashed a deer.
Oh.
So it had been sitting there and eating on this deer for I don't know how long.
Yeah.
There's coyotes zipping about and trying to get at it too the whole time.
That's wild.
Yeah, but so they say, one bear would take 10 deer a year. So if you kill a bear, you save 10 deer. So I killed 2 bears. I'm like, okay, I got 20. I saved 20 deer and I shot 1.
That's
so
what
I
you
got
that's what you tell
like
the vegans.
2 to 19, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, you want to be a vegan and you want to kill animals. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
That monocropping and all that stuff kills more creatures than anything else.
That's what I heard.
It's pretty horrific.
Yeah. But I feel like those people just have nothing better to do with their fucking life than complaining.
Yeah, look, when it comes to things like, big food, big agriculture and big farms and stuff like that, I totally agree. The way that they force feed chickens and cows and stuff like that, it's not natural. So I 100% agree with disagreeing with that. And if you can get away from it, I think that's a plus. But there's a lot of very conscious and reputable farmers out there that take really good care of their animals. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that meat is delicious too.
Well, how do you stay like patient when you're hunting? You're saying that you're sitting there for an hour. Like, what's that process like for you?
Pull out his phone and be on TikTok.
Yeah, I'd be like,
Yo, man.
there's not always service out there, man.
What's going on
Yeah,
here?
it's
No, actually, no. When we went camping,
Yeah, we had
we had no service,
Mhm.
and oh man, it was so nice. It was like
Okay,
the
so
most like
it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I sat there for an hour waiting for that bear to move into the right position, but I hunted for 10 days before I saw a bear.
mm,
Right?
That's crazy.
I knew he was in there. I'd seen it a couple of weeks before, and so I knew he was there.
Yeah.
It was a big sow, actually, nice sow, and finally found her on the last day. It was 12:30, I think, and I was about to call the hunt, and then we found it. And we're like, oh crap, okay.
12:30
In the afternoon, and we were up in Region 3, so up near Kamloops, and yeah, we were about to come home. 10 hard days of hunting.
That's wild.
I lost, I don't know, 10, 15 pounds, something like that. And then last, 10:30, 11:30, something like that, we saw the bear.
So do you take like enough food for you, or like you guys cook out there?
Yeah, a bit of everything. Depends on where the hunt is. We were lucky enough at this one, we were staying at a friend's cabin.
Yeah.
So we brought in our own food, but we're also hunting grouse while we're there too, right? So you can shoot, I don't know, I think it's 5, maybe it's 5 up there, but some I have to check the bag limit. Some you get 5, sometimes you get 10 a day.
Yeah.
So you just cruise around, shoot the grouse on the side of the road, and then you got dinner. It's pretty great. So we ate game meat every day for 10 days. It's fantastic. But yeah, we waited for 10 days before we found that bear, and then yeah.
That's a reset.
What's that?
That's like a reset for the brain. I feel like if I was to do that, I'd for the first day be struggling because you're just so used to that that stimulation from your phone and all that other bullshit that would be like a fucking withdrawal.
Yeah, but that
necessary.
hunt I saw, I want to say 6 to 10 bull moose. Right? Like how many moose have you seen in your life at a couple 100 yards?
Yeah.
On the highway, maybe once or twice.
Yeah, I'm sitting. I saw tons of moose.
Yeah.
So tons of deer. We saw, I think on the last day we saw 30 deer, something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, bunch of bucks. You ever chased a buck? That's a lot.
Bro, we went camping. We thought there was a bear outside of our fucking tent, man. It was a dog. That's our experience.
Nice. Yeah.
You had one drunk guy running around camps.
One guy running around to different campsites. We heard gunshots. We all fucking shat our pants.
Where were you camping?
Somebody shot
Harrison.
Oh my God.
No, it wasn't Harrison.
It was close to Harrison.
No, man, it was up by the mountain somewhere.
Jones Lake or something?
Some boony area. And somebody let off
it was nice though, man.
A gunshot. Mm-hmm. And the ranger came and she thought it was us, right? So she sat with us at the campground, kind of looking around.
7 fucking brown guys.
Yeah, who's got the gun? Come on, guys.
Yeah, it was funny because she sat there for a solid 15 minutes and she was like, oh, did you guys hear that? We're like, yeah, we heard that, but it wasn't here. It was somewhere down over there. She's like, oh, yeah. And then she's like, oh, what's over there? And then she's pick up, oh, is this some chicken over here? She'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool. And you could tell she's trying to look around to see if we have anything. But then eventually she gave up.
Us,
yeah, she gave up and left. But then we had one of our, bro, at nighttime, you're going to hear noises. It's just the quiet of the night, and they're tripping. Oh, it's, someone's there, someone's here, and I'm like, bro, that's just the way it is out here.
Great
just
experience.
Embrace the fucking peace,
Yeah.
But
and then it was actually really nice though. We had the campsite there, and then you walk down a little bit, and it's right onto the lake. Clear blue water, super nice. That was
it was a good feeling for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's a way from you realize how of a ruckus life really is when you're out here, and social media and everything becomes, because you lose your sense of they say comparison is a thief of joy, and you lose that sort of joy because you're so much on that shit, and you're constantly looking at other people's lives, what they're doing. Even for podcasts, you're constantly looking at other podcasts, or whatever you're doing, you're kind of compare
for sure.
And you might not even realize you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I feel somewhat deep down you are. And then when you go to a place like that and you kind of shut everything out, you realize fuck, how nothing else really matters,
What
right?
matters, yeah.
Yeah.
And no one else really matters. So it's I think it's like a thing that like everyone should do every now and then. And like someone like you that does it so regularly, like you can tell that you're so in tune with yourself, right?
I mean, it was a long process, but I grew up in South Langley on a farm. On a 6 acres. So I was alone a lot.
Yeah.
With the peace and the quiet. We had animals. So I was raised with all that stuff. We had beef cows that we, raised them. They were there, knew them by name and everything like that. And then every 2 years we'd get 2 freezers full of prime steaks, right? It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So I've been around that to a degree, but hunting is a whole nother level. You ask about the patience. It's just part of it. It took me 2 full seasons to get my first deer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that day I waited. It was the last weekend of the season. I went up to Peachland and I hunted for 3 days before I found him. And I came in the morning. It was -8 degrees. I was on the shady side in 1.5 feet of snow.
Oh, fuck.
I came around the corner and I saw at 125 yards through a little draw, which is like a ravine or a short, shallow valley in the mountains. And there was a doe bedded down there in the snow. But I couldn't keep going, otherwise she would see me, and if she busted out, it could blow out whatever deer you can't see, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to stop and I had to wait. I just knew there's going to be a buck in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So I waited for, I think it was about an hour.
Oh, fuck.
Freezing cold.
Yeah.
I can't move. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, 10 feet above her in the snowbank, this buck stands up. I'm like, oh shit, there he is. So I'm trying to get a shot and can't get him. He's moving. His vitals are covered. At one point, he walks across, beds down. I can't see him. I was there for 4 hours waiting for this buck to come out.
Yeah.
Just freezing my nuts off. And then after 4 hours, 5 more does came out at the bottom of the draw that I couldn't see.
Yeah.
So there was all those deer down there.
Fuck.
And I was pinned down. And then one of the does was hot. So she flicks her tail and the buck just comes charging down, right, ready to breed.
Yeah.
So I watch him push the deer around, trying to, corral them or whatever it is they do. And I'm like, okay, if I move now, I could bump those deer and then they could take off and who knows.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I gotta wait. So I sat there in the snow for another hour.
Fuck.
Yeah. And then
like 5 hours, 6 hours?
Yeah, yeah. And then I was so freaking cold, I had to get up. I'm like, I got to get on the north side of this slope to get into the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So finally I moved, worked really slowly across, try not to bump any deer, come up the other side, and I see a couple of doe at like 100 yards skirt through. I could just tell by the way they were moving that there was a buck around. He was still pushing them around. So I'm like, okay, wait. Waited 10 minutes in that spot. Crept up another 100 yards. I could see the buck. He couldn't see me, but I could see his body, but I couldn't see his head now. Yeah. So now I can't make it a positive ID because he's covered by the trees. And so, shit. So I'm waiting on this buck to move. He finally moves out. I creep up behind him. I get up to the top of this bluff and nothing. He was probably a good 4 point. A smaller buck. Nothing crazy. But a 2.5-year-old, maybe a 3-year-old deer. Yeah. And then I just sit. I'm like, okay, I don't know. There's deer moving in here. So I sat down for another 10 minutes and just waited. And then all of a sudden, at 200, 300 yards, this deer comes through. And he's like doing this huge zigzag. He goes across into the thicket, 50, 60 yards, comes back out. He's like a bloodhound on a trail. He's got his nose to the ground. He's just cruising back and forth. So I'm watching him as he's like zigzagging toward me, and all I can see is antlers. I'm not making a count. I'm at this point in the season where I'm like, I'm just here to shoot a buck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, the buck comes up, and he's about 75 yards from me. And I try and get him to stop, so I'm barking at him. So I'm like, art, just trying to make a noise so he stops and stands still, right? So I can get a nice shot at him. He didn't care that I was there. He could smell that deer from earlier, the hot doe. Yeah. And he's trying to find her, and he comes up. I'm like, I'm going to lose him. And he comes right back around. And at 50 yards, I'm sitting there with my gun. I have it up on this fallen log. I'm just waiting. He comes across 50 yards, and bam, like popped him at 50. Turns right toward me. Yeah. Now I've got this like gigantic rack of horns. It just comes charging straight down.
Shit.
At 25 yards, he hits this tree and just explodes in the snow.
Where'd you hit him?
Perfect double lung shot right through. Yeah, he was dead in seconds.
That was probably satisfying.
Dude, it was one of the...
That feeling after like 7 hours? Holy.
I felt like a Viagra pill with a face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was one of the most insane experiences because it was like 2 years of work, right? And it's not just, I'm kind of doing it. You're out there for days trying to find deer, trying to learn how to see deer, like follow them and get in on them.
And the patience, anybody else would have got up and been like, fuck this.
Oh, man. It was a lot. And then even that weekend, I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
I was like, but I always have this feeling where it's like, it's not like a fear, but it's like this like anxious kind of feeling. And I always know when I have that feeling that something good is on the other side, so I always push through. That like I don't want to go.
Missing out.
Not the feeling of missing out. It's like, okay, so if you read the Bible always says like, it talks about fear all the time. It says, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, all the way through. And so you start to recognize like, whenever God shows up in the Bible, that's the first thing he says is like, don't be afraid. It's just a weird thing to say, to think about.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, it's like, okay, so clearly this is a terrifying being, but he's telling you don't be afraid. So if you're afraid, perhaps God is right there, right? So if you start to think about it like that, whenever you have that feeling of fear, if you push through, there has to be something good on the other side. So that's how I kind of think about everything. If I'm like feeling a little bit afraid or like, do I really want to do this? And then I start breaking it down.
There's got to be something.
There's got to be something good, right?
Yeah.
Well,
It's the same
usually when something's like a little hard, like
definitely, it is
happens,
a
like,
very hard thing to do, right?
Yeah, and then and
it was a brutal season, right? There was a long, hot fall that year, so the deer weren't moving. I saw a buck a few weeks before that in October, and I missed 3 times on one deer. So my scope was off. It sucked. In front of 4 guys, right?
Oh,
yeah.
In front of the boys.
Oh, yeah.
Too?
It was brutal.
So, like, is there a way you can know if a deer has a disease or anything?
Yeah, like if it's really bad, they'll show it. They'll manifest it. Yeah. Yeah. But most of them are going to be pretty healthy. They fight to the death out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kill each other all the time.
They go hard, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They go hard.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, once a year for 3 months, you're just jacked on testosterone. Yeah. And like, all you want to do is breed.
Yeah. I was going to ask you guys another thing. Alberta.
Yeah.
What happened to Alberta? The new, was it a law they passed or?
The Sovereignty Act?
What is it?
Well, I know recently Alberta they're going to pass the Sovereignty Act, which is like Alberta has the right to govern itself.
That and no. So the thing about the
teachers,
the students, no kids are allowed to. I think it was like under 16.
It was like the
puberty blockers and like like they have to be taught transition and all that stuff.
So they can't get like the pills and stuff.
Yeah, so they can't transition or be like told or taught about that stuff under the age of 16 until you're 16 or something like that.
That's a provincial law.
They're trying to bring that in.
They brought that in. That's the first kind of province to do it and take lead on that, but they got a lot of flack for that. Trudeau was condemning. And,
oh no.
Yeah, and all these other people were like, you're taking away the rights of the children, and the parents shouldn't have rights.
I'm sorry, you don't have a right as a child.
Yeah, I don't understand.
You can't vote.
Yeah,
you can't drink. You can't buy cigarettes. You don't have rights.
I don't know how they argue that though. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's 2 + 2 = 5, which you're now seeing in school, right?
Yeah.
Well,
that's it. That's the logic.
Yeah.
There is no logic.
Yeah.
It's whatever fits.
Well, someone tried saying math is
racist.
Yeah. They said 2 + 2. How do you know it's 4? Like, it could be 5. Could be 6. Like,
I could have used that back in the day.
Yeah, I would have been using that all the time.
I would have passed a lot of math classes.
See, I wish I could have done
victim services, man.
I'd get my ass handed if I came home to my dad and I'm like, yo, well, what if 2 + 2 isn't 4? He'd be like, I'll show you what it is. Yeah. He'd be like, Mate nudas na. Yeah. I'll come sit down. I'll show you. Yeah. 2 + 2 =. But see, that's why that today's generation, like you have a kid that comes home that fucks up and something, the mom's running to school right away to like bitch out the teachers and be like, how dare you fucking tell Billy 2 + 2 isn't 4? Like, that's my child. He can believe whatever he wants.
That's my son.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's the insanity of the individual.
Yeah.
right? It's like, you really think that that kid believing that he's a dog or a cat is good for him or good for society?
None of the above.
Do you think it's good that they're allowing kids to pretend they're cats and pee in cat litter?
Yeah.
That's just actually
That shit's
fucked.
fucked.
Your school? Oh.
I was in Kits, man. This is what the good old federal government did. They put tampons in the men's bathroom. I walked by there a few weeks ago. It was New Year's Day, actually. I walked by. What? We're going to have to cut this?
Oh.
A construction site.
Bro. Okay, that's still like you got a picture of my work.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
place.
But guys, like, they're giving tampons for free to men, but they're not giving them for free to women. Like, I didn't know what they were. I walked past the dispenser. I thought it was a condom machine.
Mm-hmm.
And then
You're like, let me grab a few.
No. And then I saw the emblem on it, and I was like, what is that? I was like, it was like a pancake with wings. I'm like, oh god, it's a maxi pad. Like, wait a minute, what the?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're giving pads and tampons
It's
for free
scary.
in the men's bathroom in
That's
Kids.
scary.
And that's your taxpayer dollars hard at work.
Yeah. That's the issues they're solving.
Yeah, that's the Comanches didn't do that, that's for sure.
There's no end to it.
Right,
It
I
seems
mean,
like it's just
Imagine the barbarian horde at the gates today. What would happen to us?
yeah, fuck.
We'd be fucked.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's gonna happen. We're all gonna see it, and I think in our lifetime we will see. Like I've had like the older baby boomers that were like, retiring or near the end of their life, look at me and say like, I feel bad, like laugh at me and be like, I feel bad for you guys of what you're gonna have to deal with or what your kids are gonna have to deal with. But
Yeah.
it's true. We're gonna.
But where are the adults in the room? It's on the adults that are agreeing that these kids can piss in a litter box.
That's the thing, right? Like, I don't understand that.
Fuck.
Like, a litter box. Like, I don't care how the fuck you twist that around. Like, you can't.
But you can. In
But
today's
you can.
day,
You
can't
fucking
even.
can. I don't care what the fuck they gotta say, man. No way, man. There's no way that's right.
And the scariest
Yeah.
thing is if you're not even allowed to argue, you're not allowed to have an opinion against or, say anything against the current government. And it's come to a point where if you do, you're risking your position of where you might work.
Yeah, that's political correctness hard at work, right?
Exactly.
That was brought in by the Soviets.
Yep.
The good old commies.
Exactly.
It was never about to not offend people. It was always meant to suppress what
Mhm.
we don't want you to say.
Yep.
So when there's a great book, well, I don't know if it's a great book, it's a horrifying book, Solzhenitsyn, The Gulag Archipelago. It was the book that brought down the Soviet Empire, right? But in the beginning of the book, he talks about how many political prisoners were in Tsarist Russia when the communists took over. Take a guess at how many there were.
Probably like,
A lot.
I'd say like 50.
50?
Yeah.
And you're just going with a lot.
Yeah. Like, I don't
I'd
know.
say like probably like around 50. not too-
125.
yeah. Probably not too many.
7.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
I was thinking it was gonna be
Within a
really low
year-
or high.
Within a year of the communists taking over, it was like 25,000,
Damn.
right?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's political correctness.
Yeah. That's going to happen here.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
There's pastors in prison because they defied the government.
Yeah.
What the
Freezing.
news reporter got arrested for asking what's her
yeah.
name a question.
He assaulted, apparently.
Assaulted her,
Like,
yeah.
come on.
Wait, what happened?
Okay, so there's your female in politics right there,
Yeah.
Who?
right?
Yeah.
Freeland, Christia Freeland.
I don't know what happened. What happened?
This reporter
She was
for
actually a journalist, wasn't she?
Tucker Carlson talks about her being a journalist.
Yeah.
Not a very good one, apparently.
Yeah. I saw that. He was saying
He
that.
knew her, yeah. Yeah, there was I forget the guy's name.
Oh, so
It's
the
for Rebel
guy,
News, I
Rebel
think?
News. There was a video clip that went viral. He was trying to ask a couple questions, and he was being a journalist
Mhm.
and
In
doing-
public, on the street.
in public on the street, and he was talking to Freeland, and I guess she didn't want to answer the question. Typical liberal, like, you know,
Yeah.
avoid the thing. And one of I think RCMP officer tried to push the guy kind of away, and so the guy was walking. Like, let's just say you're walking this way, and the cop impeded his
Mhm.
path,
Yeah.
and then claimed assault. on
The
himself.
cop did.
Yeah.
Oh, so he set the.
Let's just say
screen.
you're walking down a public.
Yeah. And the cop
walkway,
bumps into
and
me.
the cop comes in your
Yeah.
way and impedes your path and stops you
Mhm.
and claims assault on him. So now it's assault for you to just be walking down the street and someone to run into you
The fuck.
and claim assault. So now he's in, I think, jail for that.
Yeah, he's in prison.
Yeah.
Oh, he went to prison.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
For asking a question to a someone in public office.
And that's how it starts. And this is
How about
what's
freezing trucker bank accounts because they didn't like them?
exactly.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, even the podcast, you're not allowed to speak out against the government. Apparently, there's
You
some
can't.
shit.
There's a new podcast
There's
rule.
a policy about
But
that. in
obviously
Canada.
we're not at
Bring it
that.
on.
We're not at
Yeah.
that level that they care probably. But
Yeah.
if we were to, then they'd be on our fucking ass and be like, you know,
Yeah.
looking into what we do, how we eat, how we shit, how we walk, how we talk, and trying to figure out how they can get us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's it, right? That's the game. That's why you can't kowtow to these people.
But what's scary is, like, I was talking to someone about this, and we said this, that people have always tried to be like out of sight, out of mind,
Mm-hmm.
ignore it. It's
The
not
herd
affecting
mentality.
us. The herd mentality. But one day, and I guess it's here and it's coming, is if you don't stand out against this,
Yep.
you're gonna be affected by this. And one day you're gonna have to, like, you know, come out of that herd mentality and be like, okay, what do we do?
Yeah, exactly.
Because if it's not today, then one day you're just gonna be in shackles for the rest of your fucking life.
Yeah, but think about the opportunities that you didn't have, and then you ended up, you know, in the gulag, and like, oh shit, I should have said something,
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
right? That's how
Yeah.
quickly it happens.
Yeah.
But you know, I'll finish this off with going back to the founding fathers once again, right? Like when they signed the Declaration of Independence, they declared themselves traitors to the most powerful nation in the world, right? This is a fledgling nation; like they didn't have anything.
Yeah.
And then they get summoned to meet one of the generals. I can't remember the name of it. The general at the moment, it might have been, it wasn't Cornwallis yet. Maybe it's Clinton. They get summoned to meet the general, and this guy has complete power in the nation to kill anybody he wants, essentially, right?
Yeah.
To maintain law and order. But these guys are declared traitors of the crown. So there's John Adams, and I forget the other two at the moment. But John Adams goes there, and they think he's going to be, you know, quiet, but he just lays into the most powerful man in the world right now,
Yeah.
and just tells them straight, like, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, and this is what we demand.
Yeah.
The guy had full authority, like written authority, in the desk to have him hanged publicly,
Yeah.
and they knew that going in.
Mhm.
That's the level of courage that it takes to do something. It's like, you know that what you're doing could get you killed,
Yeah.
but there's worse things in life than death.
Yeah.
100%.
That's what makes a difference.
And that's it.
That's it, man.
That's true. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah. We'll end it
Anything
off
else?
on that.
Yeah.
Shout out to everyone. We have 4,000 followers today.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate that.
Oh, good for you.
Anything
Dan,
you'd like to add,
wanna
Dan?
make sure you guys hit up Dan if you guys.
All your podcasting needs, let me know.
Yeah.
Speakeasypodcast.ca. I'll be at on Instagram, I guess. I have to have an Instagram account. Speakeasy.podcasts.
And I think you'll be on an app soon, so it'll be really easy.
Yep.
to
Yeah,
book.
yep. Booking will be pretty simple. You can go right on the website, book right through, book your time. We got special introductory offers, discounted price
There
for the
you
first
go.
time. Come on in, have experience what it's like to do a podcast. We got a 3-camera setup. You can
Yeah.
have 4 mics. Put your own logo up on the back. Change the lighting color if you want. It's a pretty cool setup.
Monday to Sunday.
Yeah, we're evenings and weekends right now. So 5 to 10 o'clock essentially, Monday to Friday. And then weekends are, I believe it's 10 to 5.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anybody trying to?
Anybody
into
looking,
it.
hit me up.
Yeah.
Hit up Dan, the man.
Anything else you guys wanna?
I'm
Oh, we're
good.
done?
I'm good.
I
Yeah.
think
that's
we're
good.
good.
You're
At the moment, no, I don't actually. I'd kind of like to go on like a cougar hunt or something like that. That'd be sick.
cougar hunt?
cougar meat's apparently just unbelievable.
Holy shit! Where would you do that? There are tags here
Oh yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
cougars.
Yeah.
What cougars are we kind of talking about here?
Yeah, this guy's we're talking about actual fucking cats. Actual
The big cats, the mountain lions.
Oh,
Yo, that would be a
I
hard
thought you were
hunt.
talking about something
Yeah, it
different
is.
there, bro.
I think you have to hunt. Yeah. No, I'm not cougar hunting
Fuck.
on my stag. I don't know. I don't have anything crazy. I don't need I don't like getting drunk anymore, so I'm not really interested in that. But I'd rather just go up to my buddy's cabin and
That would be cool.
yeah, ice fish, shoot guns, and
Cougar
bonfires.
hunt.
But a cougar hunt would be awesome.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, I think you need dogs for that though. I think you gotta have like specially trained dogs for cougar hunting.
That sounds like fun.
I'd be down to try that.
Yeah.
That'd be sweet, eh? Yeah.
Yo, we gotta go hunting. You gotta take us.
Yeah.
Gotta get your licenses, guys.
What do I need my license for?
Yeah,
Like,
can I
what
just
kind of
go? Can't you
license?
do bring a friend program?
Not really. It'd be like you know how that the ranger showed up at your campsite. Yeah. Imagine that with a cop though.
Oh,
The COs, they're not too kind.